Welcome to the BPM360 Podcast. I'm Russell.
And I'm Caspar. And together we will help you navigate the treacherous waters of the BPM adoption journey. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the BPM360 Podcast. My name is Caspar. I'm your host, and I'm joined as always by my co-host and dear friend, Russell. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Caspar. Yes, I'm great, but you're asking me, you should know. I mean, we've already talked to each other 3 times this week, which is a real rare but fantastic occasion.
True.
I'm still on the road, currently having a company day talking about process management with my dear colleagues, which is always really cool. And as you know, we've just, I've just come from Stuttgart from the event, and we want to cover that in an own short about my experience there, because I think today we have some other thing on our mind. I brought a guest along, Holger, which I'm really thrilled about. I think it's taken us, I don't know, Holger, I'll have to ask him. I think it's taken me at least a year to get him on the podcast. He's really, he's a real busy guy, and making himself rare. He's one of them types, No, seriously, I'm super thrilled to have him on the show. So let's dig into it and use the time we have with him. As I say, he's always hard to get, So let's get into this episode, which is really focused around talking to Holger.
Very good. Well, it's good to see that you're still on the road. I just arrived home late last night from the same road that we've been on. But let's focus on on Holger. Sorry. All good. So Holger, welcome to the show. We're very thrilled to have you on today. Finally, if I listen to Russell, and I've seen the trials and tribulations he had to go through to make this happen. Would you please introduce yourself a little bit for the people on our audience that don't know you yet?
Sure.
And then one thing that we're always very interested in, how did you end up in process management?
Wow. Okay. But let's first clarify the reason why I did not immediately hook into this podcast was I didn't know about Caspar. Would I have known that you are the host, I would immediately be available. So make the situation more clear what it's about.
Yeah. Oh, that I feel a bit sad for Russell now.
I feel bad as well.
Okay,
yeah.
So just joking.
Of course.
From my point of view, I'm doing business with process management, yes, and that's why I'm in. So I'm a graduate engineer. In my first life, I studied mechanics and all this stuff. Went then to process industry, which is already, let's say, a switch. And within the process industry, I started, let's say, typical engineering things, but computer came up and all this stuff. So be it on shop floor, be it on quality management level for QA and all these things. And then I swapped to the dark side of the world, meaning to IT. So my first obligation was a huge SAP implementation within the group where I was busy. And from then on, SAP plus process management is basically what I'm doing. So my background is international or global approach. So wherever company sits, mostly headquarters located in Germany or DACH region and spread around globe, and all of them would like to have processes. Usually linked with systems, namely SAP. And now it's 30 years experience, I would say. You may check my hair or color of my hair. So this represents a bit the number of days spent on this. And I would say basically the large scale transformations is what kicks me most. So there was a couple of them, so minimum 2 large size ones, so 30 billion plus, global implementation systems, procedure with very different kind of cultures, countries. And here is it where Russell came in, because I had no idea in process management, honestly speaking, so I need somebody who gives me good advice. Now we are back to be friends. Is okay, right?
Yeah, always. Thanks a lot. But just coming back to that one, so just let's dig one bit into this compelling element time when you went to the dark side, let's say. So I understand as an engineer in a typical, let's say, more production manufacturing environment, then the big SAP project kind of like comes through the door. And what was it like then? Was it like nowadays it's like so so normal that you grow up, let's say, in an environment, in an industry where SAP is there and then the big project comes. But how was it at that time? Were they like chasing people down to try to get them involved in the project? And what was it? And when around this, let's say, IT project, did actually processes come up as part of a topic where they said, okay, we need you as an engineer because you know how our organization works, how our processes works, and this is something that we need in the IT project. So, and how did that actually, how has this changed over time? That at that time it was like, oh, they need somebody for SAP, and by the count of 3, you weren't on the tree, so you were pulled into the project. And how is that, do you think, also changed over time? This let's say this linking of an IT project has to do with processes, has to do with business. And how was it at that time that you first got drawn into this, and how do you think this has changed over time?
Mm-hmm. So what I did not mention, prior to the project, I had a small assessment. So, and this assessment was from quality management department. They told me, we would like you to implement or helping us introducing ISO 9001. So in that what we had to introduce processes, manuals, and all that stuff.
Yep.
I was available, luckily or unluckily, and so in this moment I also used the first software to describe all that stuff. So meaning modeling, documenting was the initial start. And with assessment, I got a proof, so he is able to do so. Then I had been elected to also deal with the SAP project.
So they tricked you into it. They tricked you into it,
yeah? Yeah. Sounds like that indeed.
I don't know by coincidence or default, I don't know. So, but in any case, so my preparation was good because setting up the ISO 9000 thing, you had to know the firm in common. So meaning every department, every process flow whatsoever had to be clear and introduced within the documentation. So I could travel through all of them and understand what they're doing, why they're doing, and also had the documentation for sure. So, and finally, you had a good idea, an overview on a company as such, including the question, how does the process flow look like? This is basically what I then moved to the SAP project, knowing it is more technical obligation, yes, but still you're working with the same departments. And honestly speaking, in this project, I did not have in mind that we should structure a process-driven project. This was not yet there. I think this kind of phrase I learned from you, Russell, a couple of years later. But still, the cooperation, collaboration, and the question, what is it that you are doing and how does it fit to the system and what kind of system we should bring along was the initial point. And looking back, former times, it was that the system was a given. So no option to rule whether it's good or not, because you just have to eat it.
Yeah.
After that, there was, let's say, desperate people. Things went wrong. There was no choice because these times or these days, the system was a given. There was no option to change or adjust or program or whatsoever. And over time, this was what you're asking, over time for sure this swapped. So meaning you could do each and everything with the system, whatever you liked. So from a well-known process structure, first of all, you went into, let's say, the graveyard of a given system. Then all people escaped into freedom to act and did each and everything with the system. And now we are maybe in between. We're just going to revoke and say, okay, it's not always the best idea to get every kind of shape in. Let's go more and more into a harmonized structure, which is capable to operate in cloud systems. So meaning I have a ready-to-use system where there are some adjustments needed, where I need my specifics to make life easier or to be more efficient in market. So, and I think meanwhile we are in the midpoint where there's a good balance between systems and departments or functions, so that everybody has, let's say, the benefit of both of them.
Yeah, that's an interesting interesting point, and I like to hook into that, Holger, if you don't mind. So I've been involved in an SAP rollout or two, so hence my gray hairs as well. And one of them actually took place around 2000, and the other one was around 2014, so a little bit later. The mistake that so I worked for a chemical manufacturing company for a long time. The first error that we made in the 2000 version was that the good thing was we harmonized processes first, and then we customized the hell out of an SAP system. And that last part was not good. If you look, if I bring it to 2025 and we're working with more and more cloud systems, one of the characteristics of the cloud system to me is you're trying to use it as default as you can, as much as you can, because there's hardly any option to customize. How does that work with a large ERP transformation? Because I mean, in SAP you can still customize, but I would even argue that you should try to stay away from that as much as possible. How do you see that?
Good questions.
That's why we're here.
So nice answer. I would just switch or sneak a bit out of the SAP domain. I would come back to
sure. Yeah.
So as IT manager, I experience the beauty of having a cloud system in place because you just use it. Prior, you have to buy it, and in the moment of procurement, you will get a clear statement. Look, this is my system. This is the documentation. Take it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or don't. There's no discussion on what's in or whatsoever, what is capable, can I have a spec, is it this, is it that? No. Just read the documentation, try it out, take it, or don't. That's it. So, whoa, that's rude. But
yeah, where's the chivalry these days?
What a customer, let's say, isn't fond
it's
of.
not customer centric, no.
So, but we had two systems and not small ones where we just we took it as per documentation, and it was wonderful. So why was it wonderful? First of all, it worked, and you get used to some do's and don'ts, also nice. But then after that, it scaled up immediately because you are as good as the provider. So meaning the functional range, which is better and better and better in case you have the right provider and let's say the capacity on that, you can bring to your company. And this was such a nice experience. Say, wow, I have to do nothing. I'm just sitting here. The next month there's more. And over next month there's even more. Wow. So, and this means time to innovation. So in case you're not going to bring yourself in charge anymore to do the functional setup and enhancement, you have to digest the capabilities of the provider, which is usually much more large than your own department. So coming back to SAP, for sure, we would love to have in SAP the situation by just take it, but public cloud is not that ready now.
Yeah.
It will be. And that's why people are, let's say, not sure, am I ready for cloud? Is it good enough or whatsoever? And it needs a deep dive examination because otherwise you may have deep trouble when you experience lacking functions which are essential for your company. So, but we see more and more people going into public cloud, and people which have private cloud still, they're doing I'd call it green stuff. Yeah. So meaning greenfield implementation where they really said, okay, stop it. Let's step back. Let's watch the system in its standard way, and let's try to use it as much as possible to be ready for the future and be ready for the switch into a cloud system.
But there's when you say greenfield, just to clarify that, I think there's like two perceptions on a greenfield. One of them is I have a greenfield system that based on whatever I want or I think I need as processes, as complex as whatever, I take the canvas system and let's say change the hell out of it. But what you're explaining is actually it sounds like a marketing video for SAP actually. You're saying, let the technology drive the innovation and take this and appreciate the let's say the system And the greenfield is actually your processes. Let your processes be, let's say, adapt them to the system rather than the other way around. So there is this switch. And here, if you think about process management, so let's go back to when we met 15 years ago and we were doing the project, the idea was always a bit more, let's design the processes, like say by documenting them or modeling them. And from there, we drive the way we adapt the system to best support these. And of course, there was always a bit of an iteration where capabilities of the system were limiting or maybe excelling what we wanted to do or thought we had to do. So there's a bit of an iteration there. But the core main idea was we define from a business how this is. IT follows business. That was theoretically IT. Fundamentally, what you're saying, though, is that actually, especially the cloud philosophy is IT innovation drives business or can drive business. How does process management, our processes still as relevant, or do they lose relevance because you just have to follow the IT system process? Mm-hmm. And what is fundamentally changing there from a process management perspective?
Yeah. So this is assessment for me now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're on the hot seat.
No, that wasn't the intention. I'm sure you have an opinion and a very clear picture on this.
So processes are most relevant. Full stop. Assessment taken. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. You've come. Yeah. That's okay. Check. Okay.
So we had a discussion, or I offered you the idea on the past that the system was basically incapable, was lousy, but you had to take it because there was no other. And then you put all your needs into, let's say, systems which had been completely messed up by whatever wish. Yeah? And meanwhile, all the system vendors, they improved. So for any process in this globe, there will be an absolutely nice system in place. Yeah? And that's why we should not think in this one size fits all anymore, but in a composable suite. So meaning when I will not find my process, my functions in system A, I just take system B. And why is it possible meanwhile? Because API and other functions allow me to combine. Yeah? In the past there was interfacing as well, but it's much more. So meaning from project, process, and business point of view, I have to navigate through the thousands of options around the globe and find the best composition without getting lost in space, for sure. There could be too much of system, but it's possible. But finally, I also have to point out, so when we do process work, for sure, the first question is, how relevant is it for business or how crucial? And how much of individualization is in? And then all the ones will say, look, there's nothing such individual. We can get something out of shelf. There's no need to discuss. We just take it. That's it. And those ones which are extremely essential and have so much of individual, most probably these are the ones which makes the company. So these are the USPs, the critical capabilities, whatsoever thing where we really need to understand. And here's my point. It may be still that there's nothing around the globe or nothing affordable, and then we can still design it, but fitting exactly this sector. So meaning this is the company's asset, and that's why it's good to invest.
But just one little thing there, and I completely agree with the composability, and I think that because of the fact that we have so much better toolings available and a better understanding on the fact that processes actually stitch everything together. So it's process first. I totally agree with that. The point I want to make is towards Russell's statement of business, IT follows business or the other way around. Now, if I specifically take the SAP example or Oracle or any ERP actually, when I was a naive student doing industrial engineering, I once made a statement that says, I can't believe that something like SAP works. I mean, how? How? And then I start to work with it and I start to actually be trained in it and I start to see the beauty of it. But the point I'm trying to make is that even though we see SAP maybe as an IT system, what happened internally with SAP is that they had a lot of people with business knowledge drafting and harmonizing processes and then design a system that perfectly works for those, and they consider that to be best practices. So what you're really getting is not just an IT system, it's basically a collection of business experience. So I would still even say that, or argue that when you look at what SAP offers, it would still be business and IT follows.
Agree to a certain extent.
Yeah. And I'm not here to promote a certain vendor, but I think that's what is not always seen what happens.
Yeah. But what I think is quite interesting in the time, so 100 years ago when you were still studying, as you mentioned.
You're on a warpath today, Russell. You're psyching up for the bike ride tomorrow, right? For a bike race.
Exactly. Yeah. There was seriously what I always liked. But it was like you bought it as a box, but there was this like integrated environment of SAP where you had like one transactional system and one big database, and over the years. It kind of became more and more defragmented in different modules that have been there for APO, MDM, and now more the cloud is defragmenting. But so coming back to that, so I think, and Holger, this is just also a question in your direction. So where before you had like this, let's say, singular system, where if we looked at the process models in them days, it was like every transaction was SAP, just kind of like as the IT system behind it. The world has become, and of course, we had then environments where Salesforce was like the CRM system in pharmaceuticals was always a big topic that was not then the capabilities of SAP wasn't sufficient. We had the MES system, LIMS system discussions. So we've always had like an environment around it. But there was always this very core element of R3, in the middle, which in itself now has become even, let's say the core has become smaller with public cloud, and you have much more components to orchestrate. So ultimately, the process, I think when you thinking about design and architecture, I think the shift is a bit that before you could focus a lot on processes. I think now you have to think about process architecture and system architecture and keeping them in balance, where, as you said, Holger, sometimes you see that the capabilities of the system aren't sufficient. Sometimes they are better than what you're actually doing as a process. And you're thinking about how to compose and maybe later in the time exchanging one component against another in order to drive your innovation and your process. So I could imagine also as a question, isn't this world much more like there's no business IT and IT business, it's both, everything everywhere all at once, and it's for a manager, it's much more complicated to actually orchestrate these two worlds than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yes, it is.
So that's it. Okay, answer.
That's it.
Let me put a further complexity to make it a bit more fuzzy. So, from my experience, for sure, I'm not seeing each and everything around the world, but usually the companies are not that experienced as we think it is. So, be it process management, be it system usage, be it both of them. So it is not that they're all super duper experienced and you're immediately thrilled by, wow, how can I stand the show? Yeah? It is more or less, okay, they are looking for harmonization. They would like to try to build a firm around the globe in a harmonized way, respecting, let's say, global standards and local specifics. So life is still pretty basic, I would say, or normal. Yeah. So whilst technology is growing extremely nice. So, and there I found a phrase that the gap between what you do and what you think is out and what is really out, this is a huge one, and it's called reality gap.
Mm-hmm. So,
and so meaning there's much more out than we think, especially technology. And even if you know the gap between what's in your mind and what you can use and what the system can offer is also a gap, so-called adoption gap. So coming back to your question, technology is by far more advanced, as we digest it. Mm-hmm. So let's see how can we close the gap first. And there was a new let's say, player in our games called AI.
Oh,
Yeah?
I heard of them. Yeah, I heard of them.
Oh, there was something in the market around. Right?
Yeah, a
And,
little bit.
Rings a bell.
let me give you a small story to make it a bit more understandable what I meant. So I've been together with you, Russell, in the domain of ink manufacturing, so printing ink. Yeah? And within printing ink, it's always for sure the printer. He's a customer. He would like to have good quality ink. And once printing, then for sure it should be a nice one and met the specs. So sometimes he's going to print and that's not nice. And then for sure, the question is where to find the bug. What happened? It can be machine, can be operator, can be ink, can be whatsoever thing. Now, the company, they thought, there's so much of different, let's say, options how we manufacture, but grinding the ink is a very important one. So this one we need to observe. So let's inspect the machine, what the machine is doing. Good. Then we do have our recipes. So let's understand the recipes. What is the composition? Okay. But now how can we help our customer? And then we thought, look, let's do it this way. He will get a virtual reality glass. He is going to check with us together the printing outcome. We read the picture, what's wrong with the printing, yeah? And then we can bring via AI methodology the things back to, for example, the grinding machine, understanding, well, there was half an hour less or more grinding. That's why it failed. So meaning the process of QA or complaining is a complete new one. Somebody is checking real time the output of the customer, finding the bug, best case, also real time, immediately can respond to the customer whether it's worth it to go further for the printing because he could adjust or whether he has to switch the batch or whatsoever. Now, my question is it a new process? Not really, but much more options with other technologies to be more fast in resolving a complaint. And this to me is impressive because when we would have designed the process now, so okay, first have a complaint, and then let's get the quantities back, let's inspect them. After that, we have a decision, then we decide whether the money is going to be back or not, blah, 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 blah. Can be done real time. So this is impressive what the capabilities of techniques are possible, but for sure, you have to find a new idea how to operate your process because the reality gap, as we said, is huge. Let's make use of it.
And what I like actually about these gap things, reality and adoption gap. I mean, you've been involved in introducing, implementing technology and processes and harmonization initiatives on a global scale. So, what do you see as the success factors in actually achieving this? Because the time between you were actually in the phase of preparing and building, let's say, even a template system or doing the first pilots, to the actual going through the whole globe and then changing and really implementing these processes and the systems, so rolling them out. What do you see? What were the biggest challenges? What are the key success factors, and how did process management in this actually help or not help you? What gives an insight on this topic? I know that's what you have been involved in for many years, and it's definitely something you can share a lot of experience with our listeners.
Now, let me take the magic formula. All of you know. People by process, by data, by tools equals performance.
Okay.
Simple as such. Yeah? So you can have best performance and lousy tools and whatsoever. Whenever it comes to a low number in the formula, the performance is not as we would like it to have. And you asked me for experience. So the different factors of the formulas always change. You have people which cannot do it. You have systems which are not able. Your data is messy. Take any formula. Most of the time, I see that people suffer to stand the new methodology. It's not time for sure, but it takes minimum a quarter and can even end up to 1 year, up to then they adopted the new system, and then they really can make use out of it. So this to me is a weak spot. I'm not saying people are dumb. I'm just saying the adoption of all these things is what I've seen most. And therefore being on a global scale, or being professional on global scale, for sure, culture matters. Being in Asia, you just say, we do it. And say, okay, done. So let me give you an example. Yeah? We did a deployment, a rollout in India, yeah? And we did it, let's say, by the book. First come up, inform everybody, then introduce the system, move the data, plan the go live, and whatsoever. Yeah? So after the first branch, I told, look, why? First of all, it's month-end closing, so you're disturbing us. We have to make money. Yeah. So can't we do it? Just come up and then we'll go live. So what? Okay, let's try it out. So we moved the data in front and whatsoever. Came with a team. Monday morning, go live. New system. And people said, yes, okay, good, let's open it. And then one by one, we offered the idea how to use the system to all the individuals, and they did it. So, and nobody complained, and it was highly efficient. Huh? So, doing the same in Spain or elsewhere, they would kill you. Huh? So, that's basically what I'm telling. It is culture also matters when it comes to people. Yeah? And therefore, there is no magic formula and advice how to do that. Just experience it.
Well, that reminds me. So you're a big Asia fan. I do remember you were in Singapore for a couple of years as well.
Yeah, maybe it is linked that they had a 3 years.
But on the other hand, I
have the same experience, so I get
this. I was going to challenge you to say. So, what do you think is worse: a German company rolling out their system to Holland, or a Dutch company rolling out their system to Germany?
Oh, now it's on.
And okay, and both of you will not be even allowed over the channel to implement your system in UK. You'll be sent directly back. So no, but I think it's a great example, and ultimately it does say the culture and the attitude to adopt and change is something that is really critical in this, as you said, the formula. Yeah.
And let me give you one more idea on that, which is also to me pretty important. Coming from Europe, I think the three of us, we have the same origin. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a certain methodology, how to behave, how to structure, how to plan, and all this stuff. Yeah. So for sure, looking at Asia, it's different. What I would like to point out, just using it and see what it's doing, to us, it's impossible. And just go along having no plan, it's impossible. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But being there, you can see it's possible. Yeah? And you may come to other reasons. So, and here's my example. So I'm industrial engineer, so graduate engineer. Yeah? I had to hook my network cable into the plug. And it didn't work. So I complained, said, look, this doesn't work. And then somebody came with a screwdriver. He removed the front and said, works. So Wahoo said, no, not possible. Yeah. So it has to fit immediately. And therefore we have standards, we have norms and all that stuff. Yeah. Give shit, just remove it. It works. Yeah. So this kind of openness is there. And the other aspect I would like to share with you, we spoke about people a lot. And we bring AI into the game. So let's not forget the data. So meaning having the best people tools and whatsoever. My experience is data is shitty, or it's not yet complete, or it's not good enough to adhere to AI options. So we should also have in mind the data. And to me, the system is less and less relevant. So people and data is what matters most from my experience, minimum in couple of months ago, where the systems and things are, let's say, as good as we know them today.
Yeah. Somewhere I still think that that AI does not stand for artificial intelligence, but just it stands for the sound it makes when you figure out that it's screwed up again. It's like I. Ultimate.
So here's my point, or my opinion, better to say. My opinion is everywhere we find people now saying, I'm looking for an AI tool. Yeah. And then it comes back to our very long traditional sentence saying, no. First check your process, then define the use case, and after that you find yourself a good tool. So back to square one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Former times they were looking for systems. Now they're looking for tools, which is maybe a small scale system. Yeah. And they're doing it, let's say, still in an, I would say, not optimal fashion. Yeah. So, because all the board members, all MDs and whatever, they are looking now for the holy grail, AI. So get me the AI thing, and then I'm done.
Yeah, but and this is an interesting topic, and of course this is one that even in the company I work for, we talk about this a lot. AI is just a means to an end. It's a tool. It's not the goal, but it's being treated as the goal in so many cases where I think, well, you're putting the priority on the wrong thing. I mean, AI can do great things, but they need to be safeguarded. You need to guardrail it. And B, you need to validate what comes out of it. I'll give you the stupidest example. I asked AI to create a visual for the episodes that we record in this podcast. And it came up with something actually really nice. And then I asked AI, great, keep the damn thing the same and switch out episode 1 for episode 2 and change out the subtitle for this. And then the ratio of the picture became different. And then it's like, how difficult can it be? So as wonderful as it is, AI is not the holy grail. It's a wonderful tool to help you accelerate certain transformations, but it doesn't go farther than that at the moment, I would say. But I love to hear your opinion about that, Holger.
I admire what is possible already, I have to admit.
True.
And therefore, for sure, minimum, I recognize in the domain of marketing and sales, this is extremely useful. Yeah? Whilst, let's say, supply chain, it is so-so.
Mm-hmm.
How comes? For example, having, let's say, you're doing a car configuration with whatever vendor, yeah? Mm-hmm. Then the thing may step in and say, Caspar, I'm just checking you're interested in my car or in a car of us. Huh? Yes, okay. So you will have a nice chat, huh? And you may not even recognize that's AI speaking to you, okay? And so even if you will not go further with your configuration, but your feeling was, whoa, that was a nice one. So it was good. Another one may not have the conversation, so which is more cold and standard. So assume, or the idea is, this thing can do it with thousands of customers same time.
Of course, yeah. It scales like cabbage. So absolutely.
It is tremendous. And so meaning looking at the assistant. So I'm used something where you can say, look, get me leads, get me customers, do this, do that, arrange my date, inform the customer prior to the meeting on this and this and that, and it works. So you can even employ an assistant for your own purpose. So this is marketing sales. Now it comes to supply chain. Here, I myself had a small experience in saying, S04E04, collect all the data from all the sales guys around the globe. It's a huge burden, yeah. And then you're asking for something, and they will just give you the data from the past months, maybe a bit polished, and that's it. Yeah, how they predict the market. And the idea was, we can do better. So, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And we couldn't. Why is it? And it's so simple. We just didn't have enough data. When you have many clients, many products, but a variety that let's say the spread is some product to some clients and not a larger scale number of items.
Yeah.
You cannot read them because it's statistics.
Yeah.
So here's my point. Lacking data in volume could already be the constraint. And that's why we have to think about open our ideas, our mind, and our company to share. So I gave you the example of the ink. How could it happen? Yeah, because the chemical suppliers of the companies, they are within this structure and provisioning all the details of the chemical ingredients to them, so to make use of it. Usually you would never do it when you could not share this information with others. So we have to find a way, how can we share without, let's say, losing business, to make use out of AI in case that we do not have enough data, and it's pretty easy to haven't so much of data, I have to say.
Yeah.
So this is basically my question, how can we do that, and how can we bring this idea to multiple, let's say, companies that they have to open up. Sharing data is already well known. This is called interface.
That middleware was the name it had.
Yeah, but
years
thinking
ago.
about that, but thinking about that case, that's quite interesting. I mean, breaking it down to the data is one point, but there was that aspect, I think, of the ink company, that there was a lot of collaboration with the vendors developing new products on their, say, line of business on intermediates and raw materials, and thinking about new applications together with the technicians making the inks, together with the providers of packaging materials for the, let's say, end customer. So like the B2B to B2B chain was quite long. And I think that over the last years, when we're talking about innovation and new services and new products, you although you are individual economic entities, you have to think along this chain, which is not just your supply chain within your, let's say, organization, but way beyond that, along like a cycle of innovations or providers in the context of the end market that you're actually then selling to. And even they have to think further. Maybe somebody, say, that uses packagings for their orange juice, and they want to bring out a new product. They have to think in direction of their customers, what's going to have the effect or not. So thinking chains on a collaborative level, across companies, and there also the data and information that needs to be exchanged to be successful here. I think that's a very valuable point that has been, let's say, valid for a long time, but in the context of AI, is becoming more apparent, I would say. So because on these interface, you said the data interface, but now maybe you need something like an intelligence interface or an information interface, where you think about how you can make it more streamlined or more effective, the way you do actually collaborate. And maybe this is also a different way of working that you have to introduce into your business model.
And let's have a very simple thought on it. So Dr. ChatGPT, he is powerful. Why? Because there's a vast of data behind. So
true.
And same holds true for companies. Having a vast of data by your own or shared is the enabler. But
here's the
data
thing.
is not yet the common thing that you think first. And let me give you another thought. We have to understand the processes a bit in terms of usability, or let's say value, value contribution for the company linked to, let's say, the individualization. So it may be that within this new play game, your key capability is no more good enough, and you also should share with other ones which are more capable in this specific domain. Let me give you a simple example. To understand dangerous goods is a domain, things, 30 years plus or whatsoever. It started by that all the chemistry, the PhD said it is impossible to compute dangerous goods. Meanwhile, we know it's possible. So, and meanwhile, it is like this. That just give me the information from elsewhere. I don't care. I don't even need a new system. So, and that's why the assembly of my capabilities could vary, taking new, let's say, micro strengths or capability from other ones and became from composable suite in a new fashion, the same process, but with different shares of competencies.
It's an interesting point, because Holger, we have regular deep dive sessions on on architecture and I would say enterprise architecture with all artifacts you could think about. But we always have also some discussions around capability. So next to the, let's say, the classical, let's talk about processes and how do we break up and structure the processes in organization. We're more often also in the context of, let's say, looking at application architectures, also talking the topic around business capabilities. Is that something that is not currently, from a methodology model perspective, being looked into in a deep enough manner to actually also, and maybe that is the answer to say, how can we think about us as a company in a manner that we can exchange our thoughts or our requirements on capabilities with other companies that come to a new level of collaboration. So is business capability something you think the companies should look more into detail than just purely their processes? Is it like is it compatible? Is it is it like, or is it like, is there a conflict there, or is it something where you say it's it's something that is hand in hand with the processes should be looked at at companies?
Okay, let me first have a small side remark. So, is it okay when we perceive all of us, the three of us here, as nerds? Caspar, you have to.
No problem at all. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Process nerds, then. Let's be honest.
Disclaimer: we're going on to nerd level. We're going into nerd mode now. Yeah, we'll put a disclaimer on this episode. Okay. So Holger,
we are minimum process nerds. So let's speak from a nerd point of view. Okay.
Oh.
In the past, it was very traditional that once a year we met together and all of them, or we reported to ourselves, okay, have you been ignored 12 months in a row? Yes. So is it that you have brilliant structures in mind? Absolutely, yes. So is it good to have them? Absolutely, yes. But you have still been ignored? Yes. So that why
sounds
we met
familiar.
one time a year, just to have, let's say, mental-wise more options to survive and being ignored all the time. I would say this didn't change dramatically.
That's sad. That's sad.
You asked me for capabilities, and so it makes a hell of sense because capabilities will last, whilst processes can come and go. So when we perceive capabilities as kind of a muscle of, let's say, a company, then most probably you need them, and you need them in a specific place. And it will not change that much because, I don't know, when you're a runner, and most probably in your legs are more muscles than the rest of the body. So it's a good idea to have them. But who understands them and who understands processes still, even end-to-end? Now, end-to-end is a fashion, today AI is fashion. Before it was end-to-end. Mm-hmm. Have you seen a company following end-to-end structure and having a board member explaining what is the meaning of end-to-end? I didn't. Yeah. So
first part, yes. Second part, no.
Okay. So what I would like to point out, reality is, let's say, I would not say far away, but a bit away of what we're discussing here. Yeah. And to make use out of it, we have to find a way to explain in a more light fashion, to make it more tangible and make it more visible and make it more useful. And therefore, I do not have the formula on hand. Besides being as practical and as, let's say, I'm lacking the right word.
What would it be in German? We can translate on the fly. No worries.
So I have best compromise to do it, let's say, in a fashion which is good for both of them. And most probably when we speak both, that the one who has to have the daily work and has to make use of it, just receive a good usability experience whatsoever. Yeah? So this would be my idea. And then let's hide whatever we have in our process nerd mind. Yeah? And let's get it out once we see that people like it or understand it and can make use of it to scale them up, but not overwhelm them with our ideas and then being ignored for one more year.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful statement. And Russell, we need to leave it at that, I think, because we're running out of time already. But I think it's a good way to end the podcast is we shall no longer be ignored. I think that should be our new slogan. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but I think that the combination where you see process management and process mining and orchestration being combined into process intelligence is one way of trying to help us get out of that dark black hole of ignorance, and then we can step into the light a little bit more.
And I totally agree. The mining thing, when we now have options to visualize what's within the processes, this makes it, let's say, more nice to be invited in meetings and not being any more ignored.
Ignored again, yeah.
So we have now an option for coming out by showing facts and figures to processes. This is what I perceive. That's why I'm pretty much convinced we may be even some time out and not the whole year. So we need lesser meetings to, let's say, understand, okay, in which kind of shitty situation have we been?
So
it's definitely an aspect that is making it much more tangible for people. So yeah, I do agree. Let's say the nerdiness of thinking in structures, and then on the other hand, bringing it to the people that they acknowledge it and let's say accept it to at least, and that they see the value in that. But with process mining, it becomes much more tangible because they say they see their life processes in the data that it's producing, or the transactions and the let's say the processes that are being executed, and so I think there is a shift in realizing that these processes are not just something on paper documented, but they are something that then manifest themselves in our day-to-day work, and they are becoming measurable. So that's something where this whole, let's say, trend around process mining is definitely something that has helped this to be, as you said, be acknowledged every now and then, to say, I'm starting to understand why didn't you say that at the beginning? Why didn't you say that to start off with? You say, well, I did try,
Yeah, we did try for the last 10 years. So I think the real question to end this podcast with is, will the world be ready for us? Period, question mark, whatever, exclamation mark, whatever we want to use. And I really hate to have to wrap this up, but we have to wrap this up. It's been a pleasure, Holger, to have you on the show and to take a little bit of a peek into the mind of a process nerd. And so by the way, and your extensive experience, of course, that you bring with you. Russell, last words from your side, or is it just a matter of, will the world ever be ready for us?
The question is the other way around. Will we be ready for the world? So okay. Holger and I will go into a bidirectional therapy session on preparing us for the world. That's what we do in a regular basis. No, but seriously, Holger, I really appreciate you having here. I know that we have so many other thoughts and topics that we could have kept on talking for hours. In a nerdy matter or on a higher level matter. It was great to have you on the show. Thanks a lot. Maybe we find some other topics sometime and you spare some time for me. Now that you know that Caspar is also a host of the show, that maybe you can free up some time sometime in the future to have another chat with us, and we catch up on some topics, and it'd definitely be interesting to say maybe continue this talk sometime. So thanks a lot for being with us. And
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then I would say to our listeners and to Holger, thank you very much for listening, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.